Hello everyone. My name is Anurag Pateria and I'm gonna take a lecture series on quantum computing and cryptography using Qiskit IBM. Qiskit is a Python library which is used for simulating quantum systems and also allows us to use the real IBM quantum computer, which is provided as an API for quantum for Qiskit. And since quantum computing is the most trending discussions in today's technology world, I hope that I'll give you a better overview. Also, this is based for the cryptographic point of view. I will also try to make you introduce to the cryptography and how it is improving, Shor's algorithm, and quantum key distribution protocols. Things like qubit and other things will also be cleared during this course. So let's start with the course. This will be one of the two long lectures which will include some good quantum introduction and coding. I am making it as one and will break it for ease of understanding. Things will be sometimes out of the normal understanding, but just bear with me please, and I hope that I'll be able to clear the doubts. Also, just try to get the intuition of what I am saying, because initially you won't be able to understand much, and that is very normal. Don't get intimidated, and this is the near coming future, so just try to explore as much as possible for this. Now the contents I'll cover. The quantum computing history and how it got into existence, means why do we require the quantum computing. So that is the first discussion and I'll just discuss that. Then basics of quantum mechanics, although I think that will be covered in our basic lectures and not much knowledge about quantum mechanics is required. Some other nonsense. Then I'll start the coding tutorial in Qiskit. Then coding our first Qiskit program. Understanding how cryptography can be enhanced with the help of quantum cryptography. Implementing quantum key distribution protocol, and some unplanned things which will come to my mind during this lecture. This discussion won't be some very straightforward context wise the lectures. I'll try to code as much as possible so that you get the point of view of coding, how do we implement things and how should we develop the thought process for the quantum. So let's move to Qiskit website. Qiskit website I'll attach to the link. So this is Qiskit textbook. So we can see that there are multiple resources and multiple sections which we can traverse and learn different things about it. We'll go from step by step to what is quantum and how it is the probability comes to the existence, and etc. etc. So now what is quantum? Before that, I would like to discuss about quantum physics. So what is quantum physics and how does it came into existence? In the end of 1800s, Max Planck devised a radiation law which required some quantum terms. I don't think I should discuss because that is beyond the scope of this topic, but he started using a term quantum, and it was like we should use this property, and I don't know why is he using that. Then after that, photoelectric effect came into existence. Einstein proved that light can be dual nature of wave and light, of wave and particle. Later on, Niels Bohr and Schrödinger and other scientists worked on this theory and quantum mechanics. Niels Bohr found the Bohr hydrogen model, and it was completely satisfied by quantum theory. So what is quantum theory? We'll discuss that. Schrödinger also developed time evolution. We'll require that, but I think quantum computing won't be discussed in too much details here in this series. Let's see what we can do. So we can read here that now what is quantum computing? Since the classical computing we have right now is following the Moore's law, and day to day it's according to Moore's law that after every 2 years, like every 18 months, the size of the processor means the number of transistors per unit meter of transistors is decreased by a very significant amount. By this equation, we are at our limit that we are going to reach to atomic level. But atomic levels, the quantum mechanics properties are followed. They don't follow the classical physics properties. So now we need to devise some methodology that quantum should follow. But so we try to devise that. Also, Richard Feynman once said that nature can only be simulated in a quantum mechanical manner. It's not possible to view it classically. So scientists tried to work on the mathematics and got some significant results that quantum physics is completely different paradigm of computing. It's not like classical, it's not 0 1, it's not just 0 1, it's in between something there also. So to understand that, we will see this example, classical probability, and then we'll study that. So suppose I'll use sketch.io so that I can explain it better. Okay, so we have, suppose initially we have what we call bit is either 0 or 1. So bit can be either 0 or 1, that is very normal. And probability we have in classical that if I have a coin and there on the one side there is 0 and on one side there is 1, then if I toss it, then 50% chance to come for 0 and 50% chance for 1. So that is very classical in nature. And we will see that in this example also, probability trees, that suppose we don't consider here that initially at what state was initially visible. So either it was 0, it was 1, it doesn't matter. Now why it doesn't matter? Because suppose we are initially in probability trees, we have initially at heads. So if we have a head and then we want to measure the if we toss it again, then we get with half probability h and with half probability tails. So that is pretty normal. And then if we had initially tails and then we want to head, it's 50% chance that we'll get heads and 50% chance we get tails again. So now we can just see it using this example that we have number of coins 1. So if I toss it twice, we are seeing that it's both times head came. So we can't just say it yet that whatever the probability is. So it's again head, it's again tails, it's again head tails. So it's again tail heads, you can again tail heads. 50%, 50%, 50%. So that's how the probability rolls, but it rolls around 50%. These are some irregularities because our sample space is not that big. So suppose we increase the sample size for 50 coins together. Just see that the 50% marks is being closer and closer for each of them. So that we can say again. Now suppose we can see that from a head, we want a head, then we get a head. So there's 1 by 2, 1 by 2. Then if we again toss and we want to get head, then the probability will be 1 by 2 into 1 by 2. That's pretty good. If we want a tail, then the probability of getting head tail again, then it's 1 by 2 into 1 by 2. The same for through tail path for heads and to tail path for tails. So the probability you can see that heads and heads is 1 by 4. Heads and tails is 1 by 4. Heads, tails and heads is 1 by 4. And heads, tails and tails is 1 by 4. So the total probability to get heads is 1 by 4 here and 1 by 4 here. And then probability of tails is 1 by 4 here, 1 by 4 here. So the total probability after any kind of samples will be 1 by 2 for heads or tails. That's very good. So suppose we have 2 coins. As with before, you can simulate coin tossing experiment by pressing the toss coin twice button to simulate two coin choices and store the final result. So they can be initially any state. Okay, so initial state they are in heads. We toss them, we get both heads, heads, heads. So it's 0 coins, right? So there's no reason of we are testing, right? Suppose we have 22 coins. So this is the probability to get heads and tails, heads and tails, heads and tails. That's okay. So it's also agreeing with the probability. Now, you can see that classical probability says that even after doing so many experiments, the probability of getting one of the outcomes in a coin will not change. So 0, 1 is independent of getting initially what we had. That's okay. But now we will see for quantum probabilities. Suppose we have a quantum coin. So quantum coin is a qubit. So quantum qubit is something you can play with in the lab, as they are very difficult to manipulate. So actually qubit is not what we can see in general life, because qubit is a very complex tool to develop first. Initially only the laboratory assistants, those geeks you are seeing, are only able to play with it. But we can just simulate its behavior by different mechanisms, and IBM has also provided for us. We will do it in some time, but let's see how the experiment. So simulation works very fine. Okay, so let's suppose we have a quantum coin. Then we have initially 0, and then we have 1 coin. Toss the quantum 50%, 0, 1. That's okay. 75%, 25%, 50%, 50%. So increase the sample size. So we'll see 49, and then it also rolls around 50%. So it's okay, no problem for that. Now we initially have 0, and we get a 0 with half probability and 1 of half probability, because initially we knew that we have 0. Now suppose testing for 1. Okay, reset. Toss 49. So again 49, 49, 50. So again, so if we have 1 also, we get 0 with half probability. Now we have a model that predicts the behavior of quantum coin. Like good scientists, we now want to test it with new scenarios and see if it holds up. Let's try the double coin toss as we did before. Just like the classical coins, our model quantum coin predicts a 50% chance of measuring 0, 1, and regardless. So that is what we want. 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 2. That is what we want. Really? Okay. So now we use 1 coin. Choice quantum twice. We flipped it twice. 0, 100%, no problem. 100, 100. So it's not decreasing. Then we can see that it's, let's suppose it be 50. So it's continuing with 100%. So if we had initially had 0, all the outcomes are 0. That's ambiguous, and that's not really possible classically. Suppose we initially start with 1. So it gets 1 all the time, again, all the time, again, all the time. So initial state is actually deciding what we get. That's not what classical behavior is. So now you can see how quantum world is completely different. Initially we have 0, and we have 1, and from this 0, if we want a 1, that's not possible. Is it really the case? So we'll never get 1. So how is it happening now? So quantum theory, probability can never be negative, right? But quantum theory actually holds some negative numbers, and we don't know how. So in quantum mechanics, we consider them as complex numbers, I, root of minus iota, but here we don't consider that. Okay. So suppose 0 with this root, and if we square it, this is called probability amplitude. Probability density, probability we call it. If we square it, then it is the probability. So what does this mean? We can't have negative probabilities, that is very okay. But to accommodate this, we use a new quantity we call amplitudes and plot these trees on instead. So the trees are plotted on the basis of these amplitudes. Now, to get around the fact that we cannot have negative probabilities and that our probabilities must add up to 1, we use a mathematical truck. We square our amplitudes to calculate the probability. Okay, so from 0 we have 1 by root 1 by 2 of amplitude to 0 and root 1 by 2 to 1. So probability of 0 is 1 by 2, probability of 1. That's fine, no problem. We see that starting at 0, quantum toys assigns equal amplitudes to both outcomes. When we square these amplitudes, they gave us correct probability of measuring 0 or 1. So that's okay. How did we know that amplitudes were root 1 by 2? Because they are the values that give the right answers. We just think like that. This is the right answer. Although being a scientist, it's not very funny and intuitive to think like that, but sometimes we have to do that. Like we just agree to relativity, that it exists. We are not even tensed about understanding those 10 level equations of the general theory of relativity, and we are not asking questions that how special relativity binds electromagnetics and electromagnetism and other theories, electrical and magnetism, and how the general relativity binds the space-time and all. So we are not even very, we just know that general theory says space-time is like this, the hard mass comes here, and it's like this. So that's very agree. So that's just think like that. We'll go further and understand it better. So now for 1, we see that root 1 by 2 is 0 and minus root 1 by 2 is 1. So that is even the same. Here we can see that first negative appearing in the amplitude of 1. When we square our amplitudes, we get the probability 1 by 2 and 50% chance. Now comes the trick. So now double coin toss. So initially we knew that for single toss the probabilities were 50-50 for 1 and for 0. But when the double coin toss came, the problem started. Just see, 0, root 1 by 2, root 1 by 2. So 0 we reached. 0, root 1 by 2, root 1 by 2, 1 by 2, that's okay. 0, root 1 by 2, minus root 1 by 2, so minus 1 by 2. So after adding these probabilities, the total probability of 1 becomes 0. Just see here. Look at it. And so the total probability after 2 tosses of 1, if we have initially 0, is 0. So the 1 will never come. We can see amplitude of finding the coin in a state 1 cancel each other out. We call this effect interference, constructive interference or destructive. We have studied in higher secondary, the Huygens, Young's double slit experiment. You should verify for yourself that model works when the initial state is 1. So dark fringe, bright fringe, that must be you have to. So this is very cool, right? But it's not very intuitive. So this phenomena of cancelling out and interference actually helps in computing the principles. How? Let's see. So what we are going to do now is set up the environment so that we can code the Qiskit programs so that we will be able to write some code, because coding is what fun is. So we'll start a terminal. I already created a folder QC lectures. So we'll start the Jupyter notebook. Use Jupyter notebook, and you can get to this link and install the required tools. That's very easy. It's if you have Python, just pip3 install. So we will bring it here and setting our environment here. Okay, so we have set our environment, that because that is unnecessary, so I'll just jump up to the main stuff. Quantum states and qubits. If you think quantum mechanics sounds challenging, so if you really think that this is very unintuitive and I can't understand this kind of stuff, because that is not imaginable. Like, how is it possible? See, the thing is, quantum mechanics is the theory of experiments. I'll search a quote. Feynman quote on quantum mechanics. Just see what the pioneers of quantum mechanics want to say about it. I don't think the net is working. So now net is working. So you can see this quote. If you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. Is very, very widely attributed to Feynman. So this is very big famous quote of it, and if you think, and anyone who claims to understand the quantum theory is either lying or crazy. Just see that. And this is my favorite quote, that it doesn't matter how beautiful you are, your theory is, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If it doesn't agree with the experiment, it's wrong. And quantum mechanics agree with the experiment. So we'll see that how this comes to. So before starting to quantum mechanics and quantum computing, we'll just revise some basic things. To get a started generally, we know, I just explained to you sketch.io. So this was our last board. Let's erase it. So 0, 1 you understand, bits. Now if you have tried understanding quantum mechanics, you have got to this sphere a lot, but we need some sphere to what they so initially we will try to relate it with our knowledge in classical circuits. So we'll first erase it. Then use a pen. Okay. So what we know that we have a circuit, we apply some gates, suppose a AND gate. If we pass it, what is this? NOR gate, right? NAND gate. So 1.1 is 1, its complement 0. So we get here 0. Similarly, if we apply same 0, then 0 and 0 is 0, then 1. So this is how gates work. So this is computing, or this is how we draw circuits. So in any computing, we need to have circuits, otherwise it's of no use. Similarly, we have in quantum computing also circuits. We have gates, and they just work in a very different manner than classically. We can't think of them with just transitions from 0 to 1 or 0 to 0 or 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 or 1 1. So there are only 4 possible ways. But in quantum case, these are not normal. Okay. So this is how you work. So how quantum world is working. So suppose this is a sphere. I'm very drastically bad. This is the center of the sphere. This is z-axis, and the top of z-axis is considered 0. The bottom is 1. This is x-axis, or it is, okay, this is y. I'm sorry, y, and this is x-axis, and this is also a circle, if you can see. What happens is initially we can initiate our bit only in either 0 or 1. After we apply a gate, which is mostly a unitary operator, what is unitary I'll explain later, it rotates this sphere to some other sphere. So initially 0 is here, so 0 will come to here. if you can visualize. And then y will come here, and then x will come here. So the sphere is rotated, but the length of this vector is remain constant. This length never changes because it's a sphere. It will, even if it rotates to here or here or here or here, it will always have the length unit. So this is a unit vector, and this unit vector means it's a complex vector. Zero state is represented as 1, 0, and 1 is represented as 0, 1. So you can guess that this is the 0 position, this is the 1 position. Okay. Now we will start getting deeper into these topics. So what's beautiful about quantum computing right now in this age, I think you remember the time when let me take you to some old memories. Classical computers in 80s. This is kind of what Apple developed, and this is the age. So these are very big computers, but very small computers, and these are very small sized. See how infeasible to even see to them. What I'm recording this tutorial on a very sophisticated tool called laptop, and laptop is very good, and it's a very good configurations, but it hasn't developed in a day. There is a very big change came after years and years of hard work, and so I think they have mixed the images. Even just look at I have such classical computers in 80s. It's like quantum computing. So just see how trending this can be. I don't know if Google is recommending it to me. And so just this for the example. But now, and quantum computer is itself a dream, but IBM actually developed one quantum computer, and it has named as IBM Q. You can search it on Google, and then it has allowed us to generate a token, register on the website and generate a token, and send our request as quantum running. So initially what we will do, we will run a simulation on our laptop, as it won't be that accurate for quantum computer, because quantum computers include noises. What happens is they works on a very small temperatures, because as you can see that classically we have these parts, transistors, and they operate on heat. So if they're too much heated, they are getting affected. Their memory is getting erased, they are got flashed, and some other ill effects which might cause very uneasy to operate. The same for quantum is, quantum provides too much fastness in a very different way of thinking, but they're operated at very low temperatures, and it's very tough to handle. We can't have right now a home computer which can be called quantum. And imagining a phone we have right now as quantum, it's far from thinking, because the temperature that is required is very tough. Now let's see what future has for us, but let's continue with that. So programming quantum computer is now something that anyone can do in the comfort of their own home. But what to create? What is a quantum program anyway? In fact, what is a quantum computer? These questions can be answered by making comparison with standard digital computers. Unfortunately, most people does not actually understand how digital computers work either. In this article, we look at the basics of principles behind these devices. To help us transition over quantum later on, we will do some tools that we use in quantum. So now we will code, and I have already installed Qiskit and all, so we'll just copy the code here So we have Jupyter Notebook, and which contains everything that is required. So we'll just copy the code from Qiskit, import quantum circuit, execute. Why these tools are used, I'll tell you with their use. It will require some time to run, I guess. So till then we just study splitting information into bits. So how are bits operated? We know that if we have a big number like 9213, then we can write it as that. So this is the power of 10 representation. Similarly, writing the same is for binary. I hope that you get that. In this we are expressing numbers as multiples of 2, 4, 6, 8 instead of 10. So this is, I don't think that you will require that. Think of a number, try to write it down in binary. If you have n bits, how many different states can they be in? Now computation is a diagram. That is, we all know that I just explained that A and B, these are some gates, AND gate. So similarly we have this quantum circuit. We have Q0, Q1, these are quantum channels. This Q2 is also quantum channel. This is also a quantum channel, and then C is a classical channel. Now we write our first in the circuit. We typically need to do 3 jobs: encode the input, then do some actual computation, and finally extract an output. That's very basic operation to do. Let's code it. So suppose n equals to 8, number of quantum channels is equals to also to 8, n, number of classic B is equal to n, and we need to also how this quantum computing and Qiskit works. We have a let's erase that. Or we should try something new. Yeah, I use pen as white. I think it works. Oh, that's sexy. So how this works is, we have, this is a very completely different thought process for quantum. What happens is, we have a channel like this. There is one A, B, C and D. These are all quantum channels. So these are connected to each other via some operations. What are these operations? We will study. Or by some unitary gate. After the operation is made, these are individually measured on a classical basis. You can see in the diagram. Okay. So these, sorry. So these are actually projected. So these are called projections. So this one is measured here, this one is measured here, this one is measured here, and I can draw that. So these projections are called measurements, and these measurements define what are the value we are going to get after applying the circuit. So let's write the code and try to implement. So quantum computing output is, we use a quantum circuit. This quantum circuit is the whole circuit that is we are telling. So this whole circuit is actually quantum circuit. This actually we are going to code. So we are going to write how many channels are there, right? Number of channels we have is NQ, right? And number of, so also the number of channels we are going to project them is equal to number of quantum channels. So number of B, that is pretty easy. The circuit we have is called quantum QC output. It's created by cascade unique quantum circuit. The NQ defines the number of qubits in the circuit. So every now these lines A, B, C, D represent a qubit. So qubit will run infinitely, and in between them togetherly or singularly our operations are applied. Okay, so now we define number of output bits which will extract the circuit at the end. The extraction of the outputs is done using a measurement, so we just talked about that. Each measurement tells a specific qubit to give an output to a specific output bit. How? So each qubit is measured for and gives a specific bit output. How will give? I'll also explain that. For J in range, so number of we have is okay, QC dot output dot measure I J comma J. So J comma J means